Hey everyone, it's Maureen. I wanted to do another video, but in front of the camera this time. So I wanted to show you a few things I've been working on and kind of go over stitches and details and a few things just to kind of work them out. I didn't realize I was going to match the couch, so I know it's all oatmeal beigey colors, but hopefully it's not that bad. I guess we'll see. One of the things I've been working on lately, I'm still doing a lot of lucet cords, and I wanted to show you this. I'm not sure if it's gonna show up very well, but basically my spool is pretty much full. I still have more to go, but now this lucet is made, I think this one's made of walnut, I believe. It's one of my favorites because it is the perfect hand size for my little hands. Bigger fingers, but small width hands. And this is a 2-ply cotton that I got years ago. It's probably in Auntie's or Heart brand that you can get at Michael's and other arts and crafts store. But I liked that it was thick. Had a little body to it compared to some of the other things I was seeing that was on the mass market. I can also get like a nice 2-ply silk from a few SCA vendors that I know. So I have other sources, but sometimes I want to show you what you can just pick up at your local craft store. So yet again, there's a nice good stretch. I used this as a drawstring on a embroidered coif, head covering, and I really enjoyed using it because of having that bit of stretch. I know finger loop braiding is more used commonly in Tudor time frames. That's what people did. But I have to say, I really love the stretch that the lucet provides in comparison. So, of course, I'm going to have a whole bunch that I can use on a couple different things. And between making lucet cord, and I have more to do. I have some white cotton that I'm working on that's a thinner one, and then I have some silks. You may want to get caught up on what's in my project bag. There is that video. I can always link it down in the descriptions. But this is one thing I've been working on. And the other thing, if you've been following my Instagram or Facebook page, now what I have in my lap is in pieces, so keep that in mind. But I am working on Tudor shirts. So these are the gussets that go in along the neck. So I sew them in, and then I basically turn over the edges twice to encase the raw edge to keep it from fraying, because unfortunately over the past month or so, I've been picking up the tiniest little linen threads all over the house, regardless of how much I vacuum. So keep that in mind when you do this project, that even if you're very, very careful about, not allowing things to go places. So this is the raw edge of the collar. There you go. Just showing you the pattern pieces. This collar, my neck is 14 inches. So I made sure that this collar was about 15, just to give myself a little extra room. My wrists are tiny. They're like a 7-inch wrist or so. Something around that bouts. So these are the cuffs for the wrists. And they're a little bit small now that they've been sewn, flipped, and turned right side out, but they, with a hook and eye, and I was thinking about doing 2 hooks and eyes, one at the top, one at the bottom. I mean, I could do 3 if I really felt the need, so to speak. I tend to wear my shirts open more often than not, so technically I don't have to have closures if I don't want to. But in period, they tended to have closures. So I have 2 cuffs because you have 2 arms and 2 hands. When I sew the sleeves, I don't sew it closed to the cuff. I leave about 1 inch to 2 inches. I wouldn't go any more than 3 because otherwise you're going from the bottom of the cuff like down to there. It depends on how much room you like to slide your hand through your sleeve when it's finished. But I do leave a gap so it's easy to slide my hands through. Take a beeswax because I am using some wonderful linen thread that I got from Burnley and Trowbridge. And doing 4 shirts, I'm going through this thread pretty quick, and this is just the hand sewing portion of it. I did do some machine sewing with cotton thread because this is a cotton linen blend, so I don't feel bad using both kinds of fibers. Okay. All right, this is the body. So I have my opening. I'm gonna just drape this over me to kind of make it easy. So when I measure this, I take some body measurements, but I don't go too crazy. I figure out what my neck measurement is. I figure out what my wrist measurement is because I need those for the collars and cuffs. If you're doing the collar and cuff situation, you still want to know this measurement anyway to accommodate for it. Now, one of the things that I did is I wanted to go past my own neck width, as you can see, to accommodate for the gussets. And what's kind of neat is that I'm basically going to gather this extra opening into the collar. So even if there's a little wiggle room, let's say, and maybe I've had to do this at least on one shirt, it was a little wider in the back than I expected. I just basically made a little pleat in the back where there was extra. And I just put a nice little box pleat in the middle. Looks fantastic. There are ways of basically making sure that what you're doing is going to gather in to the collar that you want it to do. And let's see here. Now I've not gotten to sew the sides of these because I'm actually having a little sewing machine trouble. So we have our machined stitches at the top, but I'm just going to manually sew the sides. Like I was able to get part of one done, but it was misbehaving. So one of the things I take into consideration, I think, I got my sleeves done at least. So those are machined. I leave a wide seam allowance so then I can turn it under. Yes, it can create bulky seams. If you want to, you can fell them, trim the one side, turn the others over, and encase the raw edges. But one of the things that I like to do is I take this measurement, which includes the sewn-in gusset, and I line this up with the body measurement. So I just line it up. We're going to kind of eyeball it without really pinning anything. And since I have to sew the side seam here, I want to make sure I have enough width for encasing the arm's eye, this is a pretty wide arm's eye, but I wanted it wide and a bit roomy. But now I know exactly where I need to start, and then this is what's left. Now, what I've been doing with this is sewing from the bottom of the gusset to about here, And I've been leaving the rest open and then just doing and encasing the raw edges. What I plan on doing later at some time is putting a gusset in, but this at least finishes the shirts for now that they're wearable and that those seams are finished as well. Because what I can always do, since I am turning each side over, like that, where I'm turning them over and they're separate, the seam that I'm running, that little short seam that I'm running, I can, between those two, I can just pick that away because I'm sewing the raw edges and encasing them on each individual piece of fabric. Then I can pick that open, and if I wanted to do a gusset all the way from the armpit to the bottom of the shirt at a later time, I can. So that's one thing to take into consideration when planning a project. This one happened to be making 4 Tudor collared shirts. I bought 7.5 yards of a linen cotton blend that I found at Joann's. It was about $14.99 a yard, original price. And they had either a 20 or a 40% off your entire purchase for a regular price purchase. So it worked out beautifully with the coupons. It took this fabric, 7.5 yards, from over $100 a yard down to like 63 or so. I think it was a 40% one. They just happened to have a great coupon, and it worked out with getting this linen cotton. It feels more linen than cotton to me, but I'm guessing it's probably like a 50% blend. I've already washed it and pre-shrunk it in the dryer. So before I did anything, I washed my fabric. And I encased my raw ends so it didn't make a mess in my machine. So that is something I like to, with underwear that has to be washed, I always pre-shrink it, especially if it's a linen or cotton for that matter. If it's something that's going to be against my skin that has to be washed on a regular basis, it's easier just to wash it and get it done and over with, because once you make it into a garment, especially if it's a close-fitting garment, and then it ends up shrinking, then you're in trouble, because you'd have to shrink yourself to fit in the clothes, and that's not fun. So that's what I've been working on as of late. I know it doesn't look like much right now. Like right now we're just dealing with bits of fabric and such. And I didn't bring my pins with me. I should have. One thing with linen, 100% linen and such, is sometimes you can do what I like to call finger iron, where you can just kind of, with your fingernail, press in a little bit of a edge to it. I do have a miniature iron, which is kind of a neat thing that was given to me as a birthday gift years ago. That's good for tiny little sewing. Works out well with doll sewing too. That little iron gets some use. If I wasn't working from home, I could use my little desk area to do some ironing. My linen pillow is kind of helpful for that too, because I could pin on the pillow or iron on the pillow without having to worry about hurting anything. But yeah, basically, I'm just encasing my raw edges like that. There you go. And then running a line of back stitches are your strongest stitch. You can do a running back stitch where it's about every, and you can vary this a little. You could do every 3 stitches do a back stitch, or every 5 stitches do a back stitch. That's up to you. But the closer together your back stitches are, the stronger your seam's going to be. And if you do a straight bit of back stitches, you're good. The fabric will rip before the seam would let go as far as the thread goes. But I really eyeballed this project. I used the Tudor Tailor's shirt pattern. They also have a smock pattern, which you can have a open, sort of, not quite a yoke neck, but something very close, where it's like a U shape. neckline, or you could have something a little bit closer fitting. With these, I really always liked a collar look, and I like the 1550s to the 1570s particularly, and they tend to have the more collared shirts, so I just go with that more than anything. So you could have a collared smock, so to speak, because ladies really wore smocks, the gentlemen wore shirts. They pretty much are the same construction though, give or take a few differences maybe in time frame. But the shirts didn't change that much, I have to say. The underwear relatively stayed the same other than the decoration on it. So I'm going to get working on this. Keep an eye on my Facebook and my Instagram because I will post pictures when I am done. Two out of the 4 shirts are already complete. Those pictures are up if you wanted to take a look. I don't have closures on the necklines or the wrists as of yet, but I'm probably leaning towards hooks and eyes, but we'll see. I don't like strings hanging down. It's just a personal preference situation, and both were used. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I upload every other Friday, and we go over various different topics here. I'm hoping to post a updated doll video here in the future, as well as one on some embroidery. So stay tuned. There's things to enjoy. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.